Hi everybody, Joe Conklin in the shop. Today we are going to put some strings on the 1937 D-18. Coming right down to the end here, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Since our last visit, I have completed the fret job and made sure all the frets are leveled and crowned and the edge is polished, and had the original nut back on and sized up properly. A new saddle made and glued in to the original bridge. Had to do some minor modifications of the string slots on the bridge pinholes, where from wear and tear they had been ramped forward over time, and with the new taller saddle that would create too much string break, so I basically patched those string slots with little pieces of ebony and recut them. Let's do it. Let's put some strings on here. As you can see, I've already had some strings on. That's part of the refret process, where once I get the frets seated and leveled, I put the strings on and pull it up to tension to really see where the neck is, and to take a super close look at my frets to make sure they're level. I go through and do the small straight edge, check every 3 frets, check every fret, balancing it against the 2 surrounding. Do that all the way up the neck. Note any specific spots where there are minor rocks and take care of them. And at the same time, I'm sizing the saddle and the nut, and in and around that I have been working on the overall look. Continue to do cleaning of the shellac that was over painted on the guitar, removal of that, and just making my the repaired cracks look a little better, cleaning up the instrument as a whole. There's a major drip from that shellac right down the side here that I've mostly taken care of. Still have to finish that off. Cosmetic stuff. And cosmetic work on an older guitar like this, especially one that has been through so much playing wear, is to not make it super shiny and look beautiful. Well, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, of course, but to make it look uniform, to make it look well taken care of, and to not necessarily hide all that wear and tear, but again, allow that wear and tear to look well taken care of and have a fairly uniform look to the finish as a whole and the instrument as a whole. I have the bridge pins set in my little block here, so I know which pin goes in which hole because I've sized the pins specifically to each hole. Pins are usually pretty uniform in size, but there's always small variation. Reasonably in tune. I'm going to recheck. Very nice. So what I have here is a nice straight neck, fairly straight from end to end, certainly straight to the body joint with that slight drop off the fingerboard extension, but the smallest amount of relief there. So when I use the stretch string as a straight edge, I press it down between the 14th and the 15th fret here, so it's resting on the 14th fret. Between the nut and the 1st fret, so it's resting on the 1st fret, and the 14th fret. And I'm looking here through the 5 to 7 fret area, and I see just the smallest amount of space below the string above the fret, which gives me that minimal relief. And I look at the nut, pressing down between the 2nd and 3rd fret and noticing the space between the 1st fret, top of the 1st fret and the bottom of the string there. And I'm looking for the very minimal space there. Both of these first 2 treble strings could use a little bit to have the string lowered a bit, so I grab my trusty nut slot file. I noticed when I pulled that B string out of the slot, it was a little tight, grabbed a little bit, so I'm going to just create the smallest amount of relief there, so it will, in addition to lowering the slot, I can just widen it up just a little bit. And now the same my E string, mostly just lowering it. I didn't really notice that it was stuck or tight. B looks perfect. E needs a little more. Good. So that D string tuner, these original Grover tuners, is a little loose. You don't have to touch it much, and it wants to detune, so I'm going to have to, yeah, it's not, as you can tell, I'm going to need to do a little bit more work on those tuners. They're just a little too loose as far as how the 2 gears are fitting together, and just, and also too, these arms that come over here to hold the worm gear down can be maneuvered also. There's a couple little things I can do there. Yeah. Back to being reasonably in tune. That is right where I want it to be. Basically 2 30 seconds and 3 30 seconds. A little bit what I would call a healthy 2 and 3. When I'm checking that with my Stuart McDonald string action gauge, I'm actually using this scale down here, which is reading in thousandths of an inch. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and on up thousandths of an inch. I'm looking for somewhere around 60 thousandths and 90 thousandths, but a little proud of that. Good to me. Sounds like it needs to be played a bit, which it hasn't been in a while. But it is pretty comfortable to play even up the neck here. Yep, so as I'm playing it and pushing and pulling the strings. really liking the way this thing sounds. Like I said, it needs to be played in a little bit. There you go. The 1937 D-18 with strings on it, actually playing all in one piece. A little bit more work to do. As I said, I'm going to continue to go over the instrument to try to fine-tune any little parts of it, like the cosmetic aspects, looking over it again to make sure all of the structural aspects are as solid as I perceive them to be. And I'm going to have to take another look at these tuners to see what I can do to tighten them up and get them functioning a little better. But we're about done with this baby. Thanks for tuning in and looking at this whole series. Like and share us on Facebook and all those other social media platforms. That's what we got for you in the shop today. Thanks. So long.